Welcome to our final talk for the day. For this one, we're going to hear from Reggie Piercy, Vice President of Sandler Training, on how to motivate your employees for the transition back into the office.
Good morning, and I hope you're safe and well wherever you're tuning in from today. There's an old parable about a farmer who lost his horse. His neighbors came over to say, "Oh, that's too bad." And the farmer said, good or bad, hard to say. Days later, the horse returns and brings with it 7 wild horses. His neighbors come back over and say, "Oh, that's so good." And the farmer just shrugs and says, "Good or bad, hard to say." The next day, the farmer's son rides one of the wild horses. He is thrown off and breaks his leg. His neighbors come over and say, "Oh, that's terrible luck." And the farmer says, good or bad, hard to say. One day, not long after, military officers come knocking on people's doors looking for men to draft for the Army. They see the farmer's son and his broken leg, and they pass him over. And the neighbors say, "Ooh, that's great luck." And the farmer says, good or bad, hard to say. This story beautifully captures the power of practicing mindfulness. That is, not passing judgment over our current events, if for no other reason, because we don't know how it impacts our future. When the farmer's son broke his leg trying to tame a wild horse, it would have been very easy to play the blame game, while his son played the role of the victim and the neighbors played the role of persecutor and judge. But the farmer didn't fall for it, instead staying centered and focusing on the present. Many people spend endless hours worrying about things that never come to pass. Others waste valuable energy on negative thoughts that contribute to a negative mindset. You see, personal freedom is found by understanding that stress comes not from the event itself, but by the story or the framing of what we tell ourselves about the event. Let me say that again. Personal freedom is found by understanding that stress comes not from the event itself, but by the story or the framing of what we tell ourselves about the event. The farmer in this story teaches us not to fall prey to the noise surrounding us, but instead focus on our inner strength, our inner emotions, and stay in the present without judgment. Why do this, you ask? This inner space is where you will find meaning, purpose, and peace. It is the space of creative energy and action that is aligned with your core values, not a stimulus reaction to your environment. The art of mindfulness requires practice. Just like any skill in life, it requires focus, dedication, repetition, and reinforcement. Treat mindfulness as a mental or spiritual muscle. Conditioning and strengthening exercises are critical to find success. Today, I want to offer 5 strategies that can help you, your family, your friends, and your work teams as we journey through 2021 and beyond. Number 1, take inventory of yourself. Are you the type that cannot sit still? Are you constantly fidgeting with your body? Is your mind constantly racing 1,000 miles an hour? Do you spend most of your day in worry mode? Are you often anxious and/or depressed? Are you easily distracted? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being high, like me, and 1, rarely like me, what rating would you give yourself? If you scored 6 or above, mindfulness behaviors can help reduce your stress and help you become more centered with your true self. Number 2, have fun. Have you stopped laughing, smiling, being social, whether in a virtual or real world? When is the last time you had a really good laugh? Spending time with children, the elderly, or even being a pet walker or sitter can help take you back to your youth and your free spirit again. The first sign of depression in many is when we start to withdraw from society and spend long amounts of time in isolation that are not healthy for us. The tip here is to ensure you have an SOS partner. Do you have a coach to help you through difficult times and help you celebrate during times of achievement? Isolation is never a good long-term play. We are wired to be social, and we need each other to thrive on our journey. As the African proverb states, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Find a coach that can help you keep it together. 3, hit the pause button. Do you schedule time during your day or your week where you can hit the pause button and get centered with your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors? Are you spending time to develop your concentration and focus while shutting out the noise from your environment? Have you tried yoga, meditation, or mindful breathing exercises? Stepping outside of the social whirlwinds we find ourselves in is critical to our own mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health. You must be intentional and purposeful here. Even a race car that zooms around the track at over 200 miles per hour comes in for a pit stop to get new tires for better traction, wash the windows for improved visibility, and fill up the gas tank to finish the race. Are you coming in for a pit stop to get better traction, improve your visibility, and finish the race while avoiding blowing your own engine? If not, start scheduling it during the week. Time block it and hold firm to it like you would a high priority meeting scheduled with your boss. Own it. Number 4, quit beating yourself up. Did you know that we average somewhere around 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day zooming through our minds? Using an average of 70,000, that equals about 50 thoughts per minute whizzing through our heads. Now calculate that about 75% of those thoughts tend to be on the negative side, and you can clearly see why it is important to practice mindfulness and go to neutral or hit the pause button. For 1 week, use a journal to jot down all the negative thoughts you had in your mind during the day that you can remember. Don't worry about getting all of them. Trust me, you'll have plenty of material to work with. I want you to think about the parenting or the caregiving scripts you heard from your past, the local social noise you hear today, the inner feelings you process through your mind. Some of these scripts and tapes from your past may sound something like this. You're not good enough. You will never achieve those goals. You're not smart enough. You will never be financially independent. You're going to waste your life just like your brother and sister did. This is all head trash that we must take out daily. If you have no plan in place to take out the trash, your mind will slowly slip into a victim mentality, and your odds of living a happy and satisfying life will diminish greatly. Make it a point today to take out your head trash. Start a journal to track your progress and be observant of how your mind starts to improve and your life around it. Go digital, go paper. The point is, stop, reflect, and write down what is going through your mind. Assess and then pivot to a more mindful, centered approach that gets you to positive outcomes. And finally, number 5, listen to understand, not judge or be heard. When you conduct surveys about what makes great leaders great, listening is always found at the top of the list. Effective listening takes a lot of focus and energy. Just ask any therapist or personal coach. They have to be careful not to overschedule their coaching counseling visits just to keep their own sanity. I want to conclude my remarks with a short story that highlights the power of hitting the pause button, getting centered, listening, and holding back judgment. It is a story about a father and his 7-year-old son. Daddy, may I ask you a question? Sure, son. What is it? Daddy, how much money do you make an hour? Son, that's really none of your business. Why are you asking me that? I just want to know. Please tell me, Daddy, how much money do you make an hour? Well, if you must know, I make $100 an hour. Oh, I see. Daddy, may I please borrow $50? The father starts to become visibly upset at the absurd request by his 7-year-old son. Son, if the only reason you asked me this is so you can buy a silly toy or some other nonsense, then you march yourself straight up to your room and go to bed. I want you to think about how selfish you are being tonight. His son quietly went up to his room and shut the door. The father sat down and started to get even angrier about his son's request for money. About an hour or so later, the father had calmed down, and he started to think, maybe there was something my son really needed to buy with that $50. After all, it was very rare for his son to ask for money anyway. The father got up and started his way to his son's bedroom. Upon opening the door, he said, "Son, are you asleep?" "No, Daddy, I'm awake." "I've been thinking, son. Maybe I was too hard on you earlier. It's been a long day, and I am sorry I took out my aggravation on you. Here's the $50 you asked for." His son sat up in his bed with a big smile on his face. "Oh, Daddy, thank you so much." Then the son reached under his pillow. He pulled out some crumpled up dollar bills. The father, seeing his son already had some money, started to get upset again. His son started slowly counting all of his money. As he was finishing, his father said, "Son, why do you want more money if you already have some?" His son replied, "Because I didn't have enough before, but I do now. Daddy, I now have $100, just enough to buy 1 hour of your time. Please come home early tomorrow. I would like to have dinner with you." In 2020, the world was consumed with a major pandemic, sending nations into chaos. Good or bad? Not so sure. Thank you for listening, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us today. Join us over in the Networking Lounge for a Q&A with Reggie Piercy. Hope you got to make a lot of connections over in the virtual exhibitors hall. I'm Donna L., and we'll be back at it again first thing tomorrow.